Welcome to all of you. Take my salam. Good afternoon, Adab. We are now on position to start our session organized by Helvetas Swiss Intercooperation. Gobeshona Global Conference we are here. Definitely, we will all remember our climate guru, Dr. Salim Haq. We lost him last year. When you think about the climate change, when you think about the resilience, when you think about that, there is no planet B, only single planet, definitely the man who always encouraged us, guided us. He is Dr. Salibul Haq, and definitely from my organizations, Helvetas Bangladesh, and all of you, we remember him in a very good heart. Thank you very much again, all of your time who have been joining from all over the world. Thanks a lot. Our session today is inclusive water sanitation and hygiene. WaSH, we know that, inclusive WaSH in the context of climate change at southwestern coastal belt of Bangladesh, jointly organized by DORP, our partners, and Helvetas Bangladesh here. Definitely, we have our others organizations, Charity Water, ICAT as well, and independent university. Helvetas Bangladesh is working here with several following areas. No doubt, Helvetas is very committed to a just world in which all people determine the course of their lives in dignity and security, using environmental resources in a sustainable manner. We work here, very actively work here, water, food and climate, education, jobs and private sector development, governance, gender and social equity. We bring the real change in the lives of over 3 million disadvantaged people every year. We implement development projects in the area of water and sanitation, agriculture and nutrition, education, economic development, democracy and peace, and climate and environment. Definitely, Helvetas also provides emergency responses after disasters. Here we are today all together to go for a deep diving in this WaSH. What will happen in the realm of uncertainty of climate change? Access to the dignified and resilient WaSH service is a very pressing issue in many regions of the world, including coastal areas of Bangladesh, the most vulnerable area in the world to climate change. In coastal areas where population are very much vulnerable to the impact of the climate change, the situation of affordable and accessible WaSH is even more challenging. WaSH components under the Water, Food and Climate Program here at Helvetas aims to improve and resilience the capacity of climate vulnerable communities of the southwestern coast to ensure water security through services contributing to climate resilience as well as the justice angle. Definitely, we'll try to bring all together with presentations from my colleague Sanjan Kumar Borwa, who is a first experience of this WaSH. I'm so fortunate we have the community leader who are the real backbone, who are the fighters to this climate change. We have our community leader Shobhu Didi and Shorna Didi, who are joining today hundreds of kilometers far away from capital where we are sitting here. The district is the Bagherat, one of the most climate susceptible district among 64 districts. I'm taking opportunity to introduce my distinguished panelists. We have today Mohammad Mofizur Rahman, scientist at STEM Institute for Climate Impact Research. It's my privilege to inform you that we have Dr. Shaukat A. Begum, Country Director Practical Action. We always say Ghulam Rabbani Bhai, our one of the climate leader. He is now head of the Secretariat Climate Bridge Fund BRAC, one of our advocacy activists, our policy advisors, my colleague from Helvetas International, Rupa Mukherjee. She is a Director, Advisory Service, Senior Advisor, Adaptation to Climate Change, Helvetas. Thank you very much for all of you today's sessions. Just very simple ground rules. You are watching these sessions from two platforms. One is the Zoom platform, as well as we have a HOBA platform, very nice platform that ICARs are using for over the years. You can raise your question. You can raise your questions to the HOBA as well as this Zoom link. We will collect all the questions and just forward to our distinguished panelists here. So now I'm taking opportunity to introduce my colleague as a who will present today's presentation, Mr. Sanjan Kumar Borua. Sanjan Kumar Borua, in profession, he is a civil engineer. He has more than 2 decades experience in this WaSH here in Bangladesh, contributed to the capacity building, many interventions, innovations altogether. Sanjanda, please come and present today your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Dada, your voice is echoing. Like it's repeated it many times.
Sorry, could not understand.
Dada, your voice is echoing, making echoes.
Yeah, it's echoing.
Dada,
Yes.
is there anyone also joined from the same room that you are right now?
No. There is no anyone.
মোবাইলটা সরিয়ে ফেলেন, মোবাইলটা বোধহয় কাছে আছে। আপনার মোবাইলে হয়তো মোবাইলটা সরে ফেলতে হবে। হ্যাঁ,
Okay. No, it is no. I wait for it.
maybe you can restart the system. That might help.
No, it is echoing again. It is echoing. Wait for 1 minute. I am using another laptop. আমার ল্যাপটপটা নিয়ে আসেন।
So we are facing some technical difficulties. Please keep patience, and definitely we'll get back to you. Ben, have you joined?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, great. Yes, so yes, you're listening definitely. So I'm taking another opportunity. Definitely, Ben was facing some difficulties. It's my pleasure to introduce here our colleague, our country director, Mr. Ben Blumenthal. Ben, welcome to this session here. I know you have a very tight schedule today, but thank you very much. You have managed the time.
Very happy to be present today, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sorry, my computer decided to update Zoom right when I started, so it took some time. But now let's go back to Sanjan.
Yes, thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Perfect, perfect.
Thank you.
Start.
Okay, hello everyone. Heartiest greetings and warm welcome from Helvetas Swiss Intercooperation Conference. And this is Sanjan Kumar Borua. On behalf of the Helvetas, I am going to share the presentation on the topics inclusive work in the context of climate change at southwestern coastal belt of Bangladesh.
দাদা আপনার স্লাইডটা শুরু থেকে শুরু করেন প্রেজেন্টেশনটা, আমার মনে হয়।
আমি দিচ্ছি। আমি চলে আসছি বারবার। Okay. Sorry for interruption. Hello everyone, heartiest greetings and warm welcome from Helvetas Swiss Intercooperation Bangladesh. And this is Sanjan Kumar Borua. On behalf of the Helvetas, I am going to share the presentation on the topics inclusive WaSH in the context of climate change at southwestern coastal belt of Bangladesh. So, regarding climate vulnerabilities of Bangladesh, Bangladesh is one of the countries which is the most vulnerable to the climate change due to its location and topography. It is the 9th most vulnerable to extreme weather condition. Due to this country is the top sufferers of extreme weather and ranked 7th. Cyclones, floods, storms, and storm surge, earthquakes, drought, and saline intrusion are the main climatic hazards faced by this area. Poor infrastructure, improper resource management, social inequality increases vulnerability of this country. As a result of this phenomenon, between 2008 to 2017, 37 million people in this country, coastal districts, were affected by natural hazards. When we see the southwest districts of this coastal region, these districts are very high risk zone and high to very highly vulnerable areas as per index for risk management ranking. As a result of this climate-induced risk and vulnerability, especially the southwest coastal region due to its hydrogeological characteristics, this creates huge challenges for WaSH. These are as groundwater salinity due to saline intrusion in water and reduced fresh surface water sources, especially the ponds. You know that ponds is the main source of safe drinking water for the community. Waterlogging due to frequent flooding and high tide. What is happening actually almost every year? Erosion and sedimentation and changed rainfall pattern due to climate change. And also frequent cyclones and also cyclone surge and also changing livelihoods practice. These challenges are also recognized as the major climate risk identified in the coastal zone, one of the Bangladesh 6 hotspots. If we look at the current scenario, especially on the use of basic drinking water services compared to the national coverage, regarding use basic drinking water services for these 3 districts, especially Bagerhat, Khulna, and Satkhira, in 2019, the coverage of these 3 districts were 76, 91, and 79. And you know that on that year, I mean 2019, the coverage was 98. So we can understand the adverse situation on safe water issue in these districts regarding supplying and supporting for basic drinking water services. Helvetas works for inclusive WaSH. In this regard, to combat this adverse situation, Helvetas works for inclusive WaSH, adhering the global factors shaping the world at the moment. Among these, first one is leaving no one behind is the central transformative promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goal. And concept of build back better from Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction are the component in which we are focusing. And third one is contributing to limiting the global temperature as given importance in the Paris Agreement. We also strictly value the WaSH and climate change related to the plans, strategies, rules initiated by Government of Bangladesh. These are as 8 5-year plan, National Conservation Strategy, Delta Plan, Water Rules, Proposed Strategy for Water Sanitation, and National Strategy for Water and Sanitation, National Menstrual Hygiene Management, and also National Action Plan. We follow the approach of implementing inclusive WaSH in our Helvetas. To combat and introduce a sustainable solution to those challenges, Helvetas Bangladesh follow an integrated approach of working modalities, which includes people, system, and technology. Through this approach, Helvetas facilitates people's participation through the implementation process and beyond through capacity enhancement and establishing platforms and networks to identify the needs and gaps on the ground and plan and execute them for a resilient and sustainable implementation. A crucial element for strengthening the local system and securing the sustainability of the project result, Helvetas works with the local NGOs and service providers to train village groups, caretakers, and local authorities so that the system actors can effectively plan, maintain, and monitor the WaSH services during and after the project period. Considering the technology, we promote context-specific solutions that consider the culture and practice of the community. We are committed to ensure resilient technologies to ensure community access even during a disaster, including floods and cyclones. We also promote inclusive solutions so that diverse people, including women, the elderly, pregnant, and persons with disability can access the facilities equally. In this regard, for installation of technology, we engage the private sectors, water technicians, and caretakers. In the system, you know that we have WaSH standing committee at P level and also WaSH desk at Union Parishad. We also engage them in our system to implement our program smoothly and effectively. Our thematic course of our inclusive WaSH program are climate smart technology, which we introduce for contribution to reducing carbon emission. And second one is resilient and inclusive features in our WaSH facilities for inclusive access to the WaSH activities. We are seeing here a specimen of water point, which are included all types of, the features of accessibility. So this is the second, the core, thematic core, and third thematic core is most effective, affected, most participated. So we are ensuring participation of most affected people in benefiting the WaSH deliverables in our WaSH program. So our working modalities are implementing the WaSH program, including community engagement, enhancing capacity of community and other stakeholders, and also installation of WaSH facilities, and also the hygiene promotion and monitoring and evaluation. Regarding community engagement, it is a crucial component to ensure accountability and sustainability of the project. Community engagement initiated through forming, activating, and active participation of community people, groups, and persons in different activities, as in assessment, site selection, designing WaSH facilities, operation and maintenance of WaSH facilities, resource mobilization, and hygiene promotion at community level. Regarding capacity enhancement, Helvetas continuously supports to conduct formal, informal, and hands-on training and orientation for project people, including
Dada, you are muted.
Regarding community enhancement, Helvetas continuously support to conduct formal, informal, and hands-on training for project people, including different groups, community, and persons at community and institution level. And within our modalities, working modalities, there is a component of installation of water and sanitation infrastructure at community and school. We, at community level, we are installing mainly tube well and solar operated PSL. And at school, we are constructing WaSH block for student and teacher, and also water supply system at school. And for the sake of actually ensuring water safety, we also conducting water quality monitoring and testing. We are implementing 3 levels actually. Pre-installation test. Before installation, we are conducting water quality, and after installation and before using this water facilities, we also conducting the installation test, and also the continuously we are conducting monitoring test also. And there is another one component in our working modalities, that is public health promotion. We also have hygiene promotion activities to raise awareness of predominantly water safety chain, menstrual hygiene, hand washing, and sanitation at the community and school levels. Here are the pictures of some community, hygiene promotion activities. Our digital monitoring and evaluation system is also initiated from the beginning of the project to ensure its quality implementation, as in assessment, activity monitoring, reporting, and evaluation, which will also contribute a long-run sustainability of project outcomes. Throughout implementation of our inclusive WaSH component in Helvetas, we have some learning which can be support in our implementation of inclusive WaSH. Those are as poor understanding on the effects of climate change on the WaSH of the organization who are working in this area, and also stakeholders who are supporting in our program, and less knowledge and expertise in hygiene promotion and community engagement. Who are working on WaSH in this region as government line department, non-government organizations, stakeholders, and community people have less interest and initiatives on this aspect. Another learning points is capacity gap of community level as well as institution level, operation and maintenance, water quality testing and monitoring. You know that operation and maintenance and water quality testing monitoring is very important. The component or issue for sustainability and supplying safe water. So actually there is huge capacity gap in community level, especially I should say about the water quality testing and monitoring. You know that nobody can, in our community level, they never actually can test and monitoring their water points. And fourth one is interest to work in comfort zone. Most of the organization we are working, we would like to work in the areas where water sources are available and easy to access. But you know, in this area, there are so many actually pocket areas, unserved and unserved areas to implement the WaSH activities. These are the learning from our project, our activities. And then we have some recommendation and way forward. These are a use of alternative sources with alternative technologies and in innovative ways. Robust activity must be initiated to enhance the capacity of awareness of local government institutions, especially union parishad, CSOs, community groups, committees, caretakers, and technicians, and strengthen community engagement and empower them, especially for fostering grassroots advocacy on climate change and WaSH issues. Strengthening entrepreneurship model, whether they will be important in promoting, implementing, and sustaining the WaSH initiatives. And establishing monitoring mechanism tailored for local planning to enhance the inclusive WaSH system to climate aspects. Enhancing accessibility to climate change and WaSH-related information via an online platform designed as a centralized hub for knowledge and resources. And last one is creating a rapid assessment tools, especially designed for evaluating the climate resilient WaSH projects, facilitating swift and comprehensive evaluation. That's all for me. And thank you all. Thank you so much for patient hearing my presentation. Thank you so much.
Shanjuda, thank you very much for your very nice presentation. You have nicely articulated the ground realities, the climate change issues, what is happening there, how the community people have been engaged there. So really, that's quite important, that how we are thinking about our WaSH amid the uncertainty of the climate change, because the frequency of the cyclone storm surge are very common when you think about any scientific review, scientific information, everything are alarming to us, but definitely who are the victim as well as who are fighting every day, we definitely want to hear from them. I want to bring now here, we have our community leader, Sharna Rani Malungi Didi. She is a member Health Village Group Morelganj in Bagherhat district. So I will speak in Bangla with Sharna Didi, and then definitely I will come back to you. Sharna Didi, আমাকে কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার দাদা, ভালো আছেন আপনি?
হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার দিদি, ভালো আছি। এই তো আজকে আমরা সবাই মিলে কথা বলছি আপনারা যেটা নিয়ে আছেন।
You are muted.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have told many things. ওকে, সনা দিদি যদি একটু বলেন যে দীর্ঘদিন ধরে এই মোরেলগঞ্জের এই জায়গাগুলো আমাদের ঘূর্ণিঝড় কবলিত, প্রচুর লবণ পানি আসে, দিনের পর দিন একটার পর একটা ঝড় আসে, আপনাদের খাবার পানি, রান্না করার পানি, কৃষির পানি সবকিছু আপনাদের হারিয়ে যায়। হেলভেটাসের মতো অনেক এনজিওসরা যাচ্ছি, কাজ করছি দীর্ঘদিন, দিনের পর দিন। তো সামগ্রিকভাবে একটা সময় আপনারা যেভাবে অনেক কিছুই দেখেছেন, বিভিন্ন রকম প্রযুক্তি এসেছে, বিভিন্নভাবে আপনাদেরকে সাহায্য করার চিন্তা করা হয়েছে, এবং একই সাথে অনেক নতুন নতুন অনেক কিছু তো আসছে, তাই না? অনেক নতুন অনেক নতুন নতুন প্রযুক্তিও আসছে। তো সব মিলিয়ে দিদি আপনার অভিজ্ঞতা যদি বলেন, এরকম একটা
হ্যাঁ
জায়গাতে আপনারা
দাদা
সেই প্রযুক্তিগুলো নিয়ে
আমি
কিভাবে
স্বর্ণা
দেখছেন?
রানী, হ্যাঁ স্বাস্থ্যগ্রাম জেলার সভাপতি, মোরালীগঞ্জ বাগেরহাট। হ্যাঁ, এখন আমি বলতে চাচ্ছি আমাদের এই লবণাক্ত এলাকায় যে দুর্যোগের যে অবস্থা, তারপরে পানির যে সংকট, সেগুলো তো দীর্ঘদিন ধরে আপনারা দেখছেন বা জানেন। এখন বিষয় হচ্ছে, আগে তো মনে করেন এই যে ফিল্টার ছিল, ওতে সামান্য কিছু বালু খোয়া দিয়ে মোটামুটি জলটাকে পরিষ্কার করে খাওয়ানো হতো। এতে আসলে আমাদের এই এলাকার ডায়রিয়া, মশা, কলেরা রোগ জীবাণু এগুলো তো ছাড়তোই না। এখনকার যে আমাদের পিএসএফ গুলো হয়েছে, এগুলা এর ভিতরে আপনার এই ইউভি নামে একটা আহ দেয়া আছে, মেশিন দেয়া আছে, যাতে করে জলটা আমাদের বিশুদ্ধ হয় এবং সম্পূর্ণ আপনার জীবাণুমুক্ত। এবং এমন একটা ভেরিবাদ দেয়া আছে যে জোয়ারের পানি ওই পুকুরে ঢোকার মতো কোনো সুযোগ নাই। তারপরে বাহিরের যে গবাদি পশু, উঁচু উঁচু নেট দেয়া আছে, বাহিরের গবাদি পশু, হাঁস মুরগি এগুলো, গরু ছাগল কিছুই নামতে পারে না। তারপরে এই টিএসএফটায় র্যাম দেয়া আছে, সাথে সাথে আপনার রেলিং দেয়া আছে, যে যে কোনো বয়সের বা বৃদ্ধ হোক, শিশু হোক, তারপরে সে প্রতিবন্ধী হোক, সব ধরনের লোক ওখান থেকে পানি খাওয়ার, পানি নেওয়ার আর কি সুযোগ আছে, সবাই সহজে ওটা গ্রহণ করতে পারে। তারপরে এই পিএসএফটার পানি মানে এটা আমাদের এই যে জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনে আর কি সহনশীল। হ্যাঁ, এটা কোনো ক্ষতি করতে পারে না। তারপরে আসলো আমাদের টয়লেট। আগেরকার টয়লেট তো সেই ঝড় বন্যার সময় মানুষ কি করবে, কিভাবে যাবে, হ্যাঁ, ঝড় বৃষ্টির মধ্যে পানিতে থই থই, কোথাও যাওয়ার মতো কোনো সুযোগ সুবিধা ছিল না। এখন যে এই নতুন যে টয়লেট গুলো হয়েছে, দিতেছে, এগুলো মূলত এটা অ্যাটাচড ল্যাট্রিন। তারপরে এটা আমাদের যে ঘরের যে মেঝো বা ফ্লোর, এই এর সম পরিমাণে ওইটা উঁচু করা, টয়লেটটা ওই পরিমাণে উঁচু, ওটা বাহিরের জল আর কি ভিতরে প্রবেশ করতে পারে না। তারপরে আমাদের ওটার ভিতরে এই ভিপিট নামে একটা দেয়া আছে, মেশিন দেয়া আছে, মানে একটা পট দেয়া আছে। ওটাই আমাদের যে পিট পিট আছে, পিঠে আমরা মনে করি যদি যে আমরা দুটো পিঠই একসাথে ব্যবহার করব, সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা দুটো পিঠই একসাথে ব্যবহার করতে পারবো। যদি মনে করি যে না আমি একটা ব্যবহার করব আর একটা আমি ব্যবহার পরে করব, সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা ওটা একটা ভিতরে হাত দিয়ে একটু ঘুরিয়ে দিলে ওটা আমরা ওইভাবে করতে পারবো। তাছাড়া আরেকটা সুবিধা হচ্ছে গর্ভবতী গর্ভবতীর মায়েরা তো এই দুর্যোগের সময় তো খুবই ঝুঁকিপূর্ণ অবস্থায় থাকে। তো এখন আর ওদের এই দৌড়দৌড়ি লাগবে না। বয়স্করা, শিশুরা এই সময় তো মোটামুটি টয়লেটে যাওয়ার মতো কোনো অবস্থাই থাকে না। এখন আমাদের অ্যাটাচড টয়লেট দিয়ে টয়লেটের কারণে আমাদের এই যে সমস্যাগুলোর সম্মুখীন হতে হয় না। আর এই যে বর্তমান পিএসএফ, তারপরে এই টয়লেট, এগুলো জলবায়ু সহনশীল, জলবায়ুর সাথে সহনশীল। হ্যাঁ, আর এতে আমাদের এলাকার জনসাধারণ খুবই উপকৃত।
দিদি আপনাকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। আপনি চমৎকার ভাবে সবগুলো বিষয় আসলে বলেছেন। আমি দেখি আপনার হয়ে কতটা আসলে কথা বলতে পারি। আমার যারা সম্মানিত গেস্টরা আছেন তাদের জন্য একটু কথা বলি।
ভাই, you are
Sonba,
muted.
you're muted.
Okay, I have to check sometimes on this here. So thank you very much, Shorna Didi. Shorna Didi has brought up several issues, how they have been resilient, and who are hearing now today as our session from the HOBA platform as well as the Zoom platform. So I'm just telling to you that Shorna Didi was talking about that the typical system or filtration system was rough, that just only the sand or the some brick pieces of the brick, diarrhea and the waterborne diseases were very common in their locality, but with this ponds and filtration has come along with the ultraviolet system that is called, she was telling about the UV, so ultraviolet system is happening there, so that has enabled the water pure and the germ free. The pond has been embankment has been just high around the pond, as well as the fencing is just established there, so the cattle or the livestock cannot come inside this type of pond. There is some railing system, and there is some very gentle slope to take this water, pumping this tube well, so people with disabilities or the elder people, they can go and take this water. On the other hand, she was mentioning that this type of PSF has been this climate resilient when she thought about their early life. One of the very important point has been mentioned here from the perspective of the sanitation, the toilet. She mentioned that earlier they could not go outside during this storm or the very rainy day. Now they have the attached toilet with a system of the double pit and attached toilet. So as well as quite interesting, one of the resilient feature that their house has been uplifted, so the storm surge or water cannot come inside their house. The base of the toilet is the similar to their the house, so it's quite impossible to come the water into this type of toilet area. It's helpful for the women, especially for the pregnant women there, so that for them it was quite impossible to go outside এবং go for this type of hygiene activities. So in such a way, this type of interventions have changed their livelihood, and especially she was mentioning about that how it is becoming an climate resilient. Now I'm coming to one of our another community leader. We have a Shobho Didi. Didi, আপনার কাছে আমি একটু আসছি, আমাকে শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ, শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
দিদি কেমন আছেন আপনি?
ভালো আছি।
দিদি, আপনি আমাদের সঞ্জনদা যখন বলছিলেন কমিউনিটি দেরকে নিয়ে যেভাবে কাজ করা হয়, আমাদের কমিউনিটি বেসড অর্গানাইজেশন বলি আমরা, আপনারা একদম সাধারণ মানুষকে নিয়ে একদম গ্রামের মানুষদেরকে নিয়ে একসাথে কাজ করেন। আমি জেনেছি যে আপনি মাদার পার্লামেন্টের ডেপুটি স্পিকার, এটা খুবই একটা দারুণ বিষয়। আমাকে যদি একটু বলেন, আমি যে বিভিন্নভাবে আমাদের যারা স্থানীয় প্রশাসন আছে, স্থানীয় সরকার যেটাকে আমরা ইউনিয়ন পরিষদ বলি কিংবা উপজেলা পর্যায়ে বলি, গ্রামের সাধারণ মানুষের কি প্রয়োজন ওই জায়গাগুলোতে, দুর্যোগে আপনাদের কি প্রয়োজন, কিংবা যখন আপনি দুর্যোগ থেকে মোকাবেলা করবেন, ভবিষ্যতে দুর্যোগ আসতে পারে, জলবায়ু পরিবর্তন, আপনাদের কত কিছু প্রয়োজন পড়ে, কত কিছু দেন দরবার করেন। যদি আপনার এই স্থানীয় সরকারের সাথে আপনার এই দেন দরবারের গল্পটা যদি আমাদের সাথে একটু বলেন, যে কিভাবে আসলে আপনি গ্রামের মানুষের কাছ থেকে তথ্যগুলো নিয়ে আপনি ঠিক ইউনিয়ন পরিষদের চেয়ারম্যান সাহেব বা উপজেলা চেয়ারম্যান কাছে নিয়ে যান, এবং কিভাবে আসলে আপনি আদায় করে ছাড়েন।
দাদা নমস্কার, আমাকে এত বড় একটা কনফারেন্সে কথা বলার জন্য। আমি সৈয়দে ডাকুয়া, মাদার্স পার্লামেন্ট ডেপুটি স্পিকার, স্বর্ণখালী, মোহনগঞ্জ, ভাগেরহাট। দাদা আমাদের এলাকা খুবই দরিদ্র এলাকা, নিম্নস্থল। জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের ফলে আমাদের এলাকার প্রাকৃতিক দুর্যোগ কোনো না কোনো ভাবে জীবন ও জীবিকার উপর পানি সেন্ট্রেশনকে মারাত্মকভাবে ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত করে। এই এলাকা সিডর, আয়লা, আমাদের এলাকায় দুর্যোগের সময় আমাদের এলাকায় লবণাক্ত পানি, মিষ্টি জলধারা গুলোকে লবণাক্ত করে তোলে এবং ওই এলাকায় মিষ্টি পানি খাবার অনুপযোগী হয়ে ওঠে। কিন্তু সরকারি বেসরকারি সংস্থাগুলো আমাদের সাধারণ যে পিএসএ গুলো দিয়েছে, কিন্তু ওগুলো অকেজো, 2 দিন পরে নষ্ট হয়ে যায়। কারণ আমার মনে করি ওখানে পরিকল্পনার অভাব ছিল। কিন্তু বর্তমানে যে সোলার পিএসএ গুলো, যেগুলো টেকসই এবং খুবই উন্নত ধরনের, এবং রক্ষণাবেক্ষণের জন্য আমরা নিজেরাই একটা কমিটি গঠন করি, যে কমিটিরা ওইটা রক্ষণাবেক্ষণ করে এবং সর্বসাধারণের উপস্থিতি। এছাড়া বর্তমানে দিদি যেটা বলছে, আমাদের টয়লেট, বর্তমানে সরকারি ও বেসরকারি প্রতিষ্ঠানগুলো যে উন্নত ধরনের জলবায়ু সহনশীল যে টয়লেট ব্যবস্থা করছে তা খুবই উন্নত, এবং যেটাকে বলি আমরা সংযুক্ত টয়লেট। এছাড়া আমাদের বেসরকারি সরকারি এই যে পানি ও স্যানিটেশনের জন্য বিভিন্ন সংস্থামূলক যে ব্যবস্থা করেছেন সেগুলো চাহিদা অনুসারে অপ্রতুল। কিন্তু আমি মনে করি যদি টেকসই উন্নয়ন লক্ষ্যে ছয়কে যদি আমরা অর্জন করতে চাই তাহলে ওয়াশ খাতে প্রয়োজনীয় বাজেট বরাদ্দ করা প্রয়োজন এবং যেটা টেকসই ও যুগোপযোগী করে পরিকল্পনা করা দরকার। আমরা অনেক সময় চেয়ারম্যান মেম্বার এগুলোর কাছে যাই এবং আমরা যাই এবং তাদের নিয়ে স্থানে যে এই স্থানে যদি এইভাবে জনসাধারণকে সম্মতিক্রমে যে একটি যেমন সোলার পিএসএফ গুলা তৈরি করা যায় বা যদি যেখানে পুকুর নাই খাস জমিগুলো পড়ে আছে সেই খাস জমিগুলো খনন করে জনগণের সর্বসম্মতিক্রমে যদি একটি সোলার পিএসএফ করা যায় বা রক্ষণাবেক্ষণের জন্য জনগণকেই দেওয়া যায় তাহলে আমাদের অনেক উন্নত হবে।
দিদি আপনাকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ। আর কিছু বলবেন দিদি? আর কোনো পয়েন্ট আছে?
দাদা আমরা হয়তো এভাবেই ওই চেয়ারম্যান কন মেম্বার কন এমপি কন এদের কাছে যাই। যেমন আমাদের সাবেক যে এমপি ছিল তার কাছ থেকে আমরা গিয়ে পানির ট্যাঙ্কি কমসে কম পানির ট্যাঙ্কি এগুলো ই করছিলাম।
অনেক ধন্যবাদ দিদি, আপনাকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ। প্রয়োজনে আবার আপনার কাছে আমি ফিরে আসবো। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ ফর ভেরি নাইস আর্টিকুলেশন and the very real, the ground evidence that how this type of WaSH activities is happening there. The community are just amplifying their voice, connecting this local community vulnerability to these policymakers at this local level. Our Shobhutidi was talking about that the cyclone in 2000, Sidor, it happened in 2007, and Isla in 2009. These two cyclones had a devastating impact in this life and livelihood, especially this WaSH sector in this Morelganj area. No doubt, the measurable feature of the saline water is really very visible and drastic. Several NGOs and governments and interventions came here. General PSF that was not working properly, but this customized PSF, especially the solar powered PSF that reduce their hurdles. The solar power PSF has given their life easy, enabled their space to be more resilient. They have formed a committee, including it's an inclusive committee by these community people who are taking care the repair, maintenance, and the water governance. You can think in a simple ways and customized water governance in this local community. She mentioned that it's very important to increase this water budget at this local level. For that reason, they continued to talk and influence the local level. We call the chairman. It's an union parishad chairman. Union is a comprised of several villages there, and members who are the unit head of the 3 or 4 villages we call ward. So they continue connecting these chairmen and members to these type of activities. They make a list of if there is any fallow land, if there is any just pond that is not working. So they make a list, they bring this list to this type of local governments and influence them to install solar powered PSF or this others intervention. She was mentioning, Shobhutidi was mentioning that the last time we had election in this year on 7th January, but the earlier member of the parliament, he was convinced and to provide some rainwater harvesting interventions there. Thank you very much, all of my communities over here. We have started to get this question from in this Zoom box as well as the HOVA. Definitely, I will get back to all of our distinguished panelists. So this is the chance to listen. We have a very, very strong panelist here. But Ben, if you are here, I know that you have a very tight schedule. If you say something.
Just trying to find the camera, actually. Here we are. Sorry.
Sure. I know you have to go.
First of all, thank you very much for giving me the floor here. I do not want to capture a lot of your time. Thank you so much for organizing this meeting, this exchange. I think it is very important that we actually talk about these issues and that we share our experience. Helvetas Bangladesh has been working on climate change issues since many years, and we have just redesigned our strategy, our country strategy, and climate change and adaptation to climate change is absolutely at the core of our work that we are doing. We are working on adaptation and on disaster risk management. We are working on climate justice and climate governance. And of course, also on the topic that we are talking today about inclusive water access. So all these elements are interlinked, they are working together. And we are very happy that we have this opportunity in the Gobeshona conference to showcase our work here. Of course, we also have to keep in mind that the climate is changing a lot. It's changing constantly. And we all know, we have just seen the new report from ICCAT that has been published recently, saying that Bangladesh is coming to the limit of how much we here in Bangladesh can adapt to climate change. So, of course, there are a lot of questions also concerning this and how this affects our work. So I'm very much interested to hear from also our panelists on their views, and I'm looking forward now to the discussion with the panelists. Thank you so much for organizing, Hassan. Thank you for sharing with us, Sanjan, and also from the fields, and a good continuation of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Definitely, it's very nice to hear you, and thanks a lot, and definitely for your very nice leadership here in Bangladesh. Now, come to my panelists, my distinguished panelists. It's my again pleasure to having you. We have 4 panelists. Just a very brief introducing of my panelists here. We have Mofiz Rahman. Mofiz is a scientist for the STEM Institute of the Climate Impact Research Peak, as well as he's the fellow Future Earth Coast Fellow Adaptation Collab. Mofiz, I know that Mofiz has been born here in the Southern Belts. He has been graduated from this one of the leading universities in Bangladesh, Khulna University there. And next we'll have Shaukat Appa, our very familiar Shaukat Appa. Shaukat Appa is a country director of practical action here in Bangladesh. Dr. Shaukat Begum has a professional and in reach of the 20 years, more than 20 years, her experience managing and implementing projects. She has several areas. She has what I know that nutrition, food security, poverty reduction, disaster risk management, climate change adaptation. Shaukat, it's very nice to having here. I have Ghulam Rabbani Bhai, our climate mentors, always we say. Ghulam Rabbani Bhai has a huge background working in this loss and damage, migration, climate change. He's a researcher. The fact is that Dr. Ghulam Rabbani is taking care of one of the leading climate Breeze Fund from the BRAC. And finally, we have our favorite Rupa Mukherjee, Rupadi. Rupadi is here. She is the Director Advisory Service Department in Helvetas, as well as our member of the management board. Interestingly, Rupadi is a co-author, one of the leading author in this IPCC 5th and 6th assessment report here. I will come to first Shaukat Appa. Shaukat Appa, I'm coming to you that, yes, we have a more than 50 minutes. No worries, we'll have some chance. Shaukat Appa, you have an experience. You heard about the Helvetas work for Sanjan's present, and my community leader to this talked about their real ground thinking. I'm going to ask you that what are the key challenges and opportunities for scaling up locally led adaptation efforts for climate resilient WaSH, especially in the coastal belt of Bangladesh?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, definitely thank you to Helvetas for inviting me to such a high level, influential and interesting session here. And at the same time, thanks to ICCAT for hosting this. So thanks to both of you. Yeah. No, and thank you to the presentation, Sanjay. This is very good, very informative, even though I am familiar and close to Helvetas' program with friends, but definitely this is very good to see exactly what activities is there and listening from the community view, community voices. No, two of the uppers talk from there. So actually, the challenge, if we say, definitely this is built in your program as well. That's how these interventions are being taken. But I will go a little bit, wider. Like the challenge in coastal region in terms of water resources management, we all do know here, and also along the panel, other members, that the problem actually started, I would say, even though that was for positive reason, positive purpose, but with that embankmentation and the polder process, that actually altered the natural water management system, the natural interplay and natural flow. And on the top of that, I also saw a question there, almost, no, that started in the 60s, the polder embankmentation for land reclamation, for increasing our food production, expansion of our green revolution with the high-yielding rice plantation, and definitely for protecting the communities from tidal surge, from intense cyclone. Those are all for very good, positive reasons, but we couldn't manage those polders properly. And also there are several research and analyses around us. I trust you also know that those were not that suitable for such an active dynamic delta. And on the top of that, the withdrawal of upstream flow with the embankmentation, the damming on Padma, and gradually its distributaries lost, or gradual reduction of freshwater flow and other upstream rivers gradually. And subsidence. Subsidence also a natural process in the coastal system, because the soil formation is not rocky. This is alluvium, so continuously subsiding. So combining all these effects, what happened? Salinity intrusion started coming in. Of course, extreme events are there. And at the same time, in the coastal region, in Southwest particularly, we saw decades of and waves of development process and changes in land use pattern, from rice to shrimp. We know, even for one of our former presidents' time, these coastal lands were declared as shrimp estate, and lots of land reformation, economic reformation went there. And we have changed our land use patterns. So combining all these actually had made our water sanitation. I will not only keep myself limited, please allow me, only in water and sanitation, because I know our food security, our health, everything is really being challenged. So that's how it became challenging, but good to see that Helvetas, and like Helvetas, many other organizations are working in that coastal region to address the water and sanitation problem in that way, and like bringing in. So where is still the challenge? The challenge is, yes, when we see this discrete development programs, of course, I'm not, by saying discrete, I'm not belittling it, because I am also a representation from NGO community. But our activities are community focused, individual focused, household focused. Comparing to, we are dealing with a very complex coastal landscape, a coastal system that has to be very ecosystem based, ecosystems resilience that we have to do. And in order to do that, we need a wider connection, a wider interaction. When I say this, it is of course our community groups, our community leaders, but local groups. But once again in Bangladesh, what I always try to put on the table, that when we say that involving the government, involving the public entities, we often end up with the union parishad. But given the reality, we know how much revenue union parishad can generate, how much influence union parishad can really put on together. I have every respect for them, but I'm talking on reality. And the Upajila Parishad, there is a total disconnect. There is also a disconnect with the national level policy actors. So we need to address these gaps, empower the community even more so that they can really question our service providers. They can really make accountable them. And if these things happen, this perception, this attitude, this acceptance level, I think local level planning, local level adaptation will really get much power and will be successful.
Shokatapa, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Definitely, I will get back to you again in the second round of questions. No doubt, you have brought several issues. Now I'll come to our Rabbani Bhai, Dr. Ghulam Rabbani Bhai. Dr. Rabbani Bhai, you know that from the community perspective, it's a reality that slow onset disasters affect the water sources, and which is directly related to their nature-based livelihood options. People are forced to opt for the seasonal migration that eventually triggered to this permanent displacement. And I know that you are working on the funding mechanism in this the coastal belt, especially the slum areas. However, but from your experience and from your expertise, I just giving a question to you that what policy mechanisms are needed to ensure sustainable funding streams for climate resilient WaSH project?
Thank you so much, Hassan. Appreciate Helvetas and organizer colleagues for inviting me to join this panel. I'm very honored and pleased to be sharing some of my experiences, a reflection on the climate resilient WaSH aspect. Your question is very pertinent and it is extremely important. Let me just mention 3 words and let me explain why I'm in favor of elaborating these 3 words. First of all, recognition. Recognition of what? Recognition of there are good literature references that access to WaSH is a golden indicator for adaptation. So, there are only few indicators many times referred in the international knowledge system, climate knowledge system. These are called golden indicators, like income increase, from diverse livelihood, adaptive livelihood is a golden indicator for adaptation. So access to WaSH is a climate resilient WaSH is a golden indicator. So the policy has to recognize that WaSH is a priority problem for the local communities, particularly in the coastal zone. In fact, the entire country in Bangladesh, if you want to refer, but and many countries in South Asia. So WaSH is a major crisis, development problem, but climate change actually aggravates the overall situation. So you can immediately prioritize it and implement it. So that's one thing. And then what do you do with this recognition? You actually identify it as a priority problem and put it in the policy and institutional arrangement. So you need to make sure that this has been identified as a priority problem for sustainable, financing. So that's number 1. So this is recognition. My second word is integration. Immediately you have to integrate these WaSH problems in the projects and programs under, your annual development plan of the government system, annual development or annual strategic document of the development partners, INGOs, and also NGOs. So this is a priority problem. And then you start communication, consultation with the relevant development partners, relevant stakeholders, whatever. So that's number 3. Number 4 is, you need to make sure that when you address multiple problems, particularly in the urban settings, based on my experiences, from CBF, supported projects, we see the integrated approach is extremely important, particularly for urban areas. And WaSH is one of the 5-6 major priority issues. So you have to make sure that the WaSH is integrated in your overall implementation process. And again, synergy is quite important when you implement a WaSH program, and you can see, what other stakeholders, other NGOs, and other, institutions are doing this WaSH interventions together, so that you can do things differently. So if that could be, planned well, then I'm sure that the access to finance will be easier. My third and last point, is implementation. When you implement it, the first principle is, we have talked about this climate change impacts on WaSH. I have been, talking about this since 2008. Trust me, we had a project on climate change on WaSH, and I remember we implemented it with NGO Forum for Public Health, current NGO Forum for Public Health, since 2010. It's quite long back, 15 years, almost 14, 15 years. So we talked a lot about it. Now this policy has to go for action. Let's talk less and make sure that we implement it. But when you implement, you have to design it differently. What is the difference between a WaSH intervention, under a development budget development program, and what is the climate resilient WaSH, and that WaSH will be looked under a climate lens. And then what is limitations that I see in terms of implementation? My third word is exploration of co-benefit is very much limited. What does that mean? If you support, fund to any organization, we usually see, well, I should not say it because, many organizations are trying to, critically analyze different kind of, co-benefit options while they plan, design, sanitation options or WaSH complex. So they are trying to do it, but it's still less. What I'm trying to encourage is, when you design a WaSH, infrastructure, you explore several things. I give you some of the examples to have better sustainable financing mechanism, and that will ensure, because you see, one of the major principles of adaptation is you maximize the benefit, when you design it. All right. So you address the social resilience, you address the economic resilience, you address the environmental resilience, but you make sure that you actually explore and add the different type of co-benefits. What are those co-benefits? For example, solar system, we are already doing it. You make sure that our strategy is, from Helvetas, any kind of WaSH complex must include a solar system. So that is important. And I'm not saying, from my end, it is a bottom-up approach. I was asked from Greenland Abasion in Kulna during evening, late evening, we cannot use our toilet. I said, why? And they said, it's dark. There is no light, installed in it. Well, then the organization installed a light, and then who pays the bill? They're poor people. So the idea is installation of a solar system. Secondly, use of eco bricks and this environmental friendly materials when you design and plan it. So that is helpful. I will finish it in few seconds. And the third is insulation device. in the north and even in many areas, but even in some areas of the coastal zone, they don't, want to use the toilet during the, pre-monsoon, when the temperature is about 40 degrees centigrade. So you need to use the insulation device just under the corrugated iron sheet, so that the chamber, wash chamber remains bit cooler, so that they are comfortable to use it. And easy water access. We have example of that there was a construction of toilet, but the water access was not there, and within 5-6 years it remained unusable, non-functional. So this needs to be think about when you design it. And of course, when you design it, it's not only like when I ask this question to many of our partners, I'm not saying I don't want to really blame. They know very well. In fact, I learned from the local NGOs and the CBUs, but something that you need to really integrate is the robust climate science, climate projection. That is our job. Bottom-up approach doesn't work really well if you do not integrate science of adaptation, science of climate. So that is your job. So it will be much more beautiful if you really integrate, combine the people science, the local perception, local knowledge with science, and then you design it. And my last point is, I don't think access to money is a problem when you have a better designed option to have it on the ground. Thank you so much, Hassan.
Rapani, thank you very much. Very nice point you have mentioned, and especially your couple of first words, that recognition, integration, then integrated approach and implementation. It just stuck in this mind. And I want to bring this last point of your talking point, that okay, local science, local knowledge, how it has to be incorporated, embedded in our research work, plan, policies all together. And definitely I have gotten right choice here. I have our one of the researcher friend here, Mofiz is here. Mofiz, you have a good experience of the working in this action research there, especially in this southern belt. I know that. Can you bring some lights in this our following question, that how can partnerships between NGOs and research organizations enhance the effectiveness and scalability of climate resilient WaSH intervention?
Okay, thanks, Hassan. I got cold, so maybe you can hear me well. I don't know. So it's very difficult to talk after Rabbani Bhai, my former mentor, because he's like a mathematician. He talks very few words, but it tells the entire story, and it's you will be out of word after him, because he told almost everything. But মোটা দাগে আমি গোটা 5 point বলি, like 5 points I would love to share. Some of them might answer your question. Number one, in the first presentation, we saw numbers of safe sources. So in Bangladesh, the 98% safe sources. And some districts, it is like 75 to 80% or so on, or even more. But my first thing is, how safe are the safe sources are? This is a fundamental research question, because the safe sources are not safe all the year round. There's some of this tube oil will be saline in a particular season. Some of the tube oil will go underwater during flood, and so on. Some of the tube oil will not work because something got stolen, a part of it gets stolen, or like many things can happen. So when you put number of safe sources and make it as another top indicator, there is a problem, because safe sources are not always safe. Then second point I want to mention, that forget about climate change for a moment. Climate change, of course, is an existential threat, and it touches every aspect of life, including water, sanitation, everything it touches, in health, livelihood, ecosystem, everything. But just keep it for a while. water supply, sanitation, hygiene is a fundamental problem even without climate change, because we are living in a subtropical area where viruses and bacteria grows enormously faster than other part of the world. And it's geographically, we are so densely packed, densely populated, so any disease can spread quite faster here. So because of our geography, our temperature, and the poverty, and so many factors plays role in water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. So without climate change, this is an important issue to work on. Everything under climatic umbrella, and I have no problem with that. But the thing is, is not everything you can really attribute to climate change. But water is something which we already know have very strong connection to climate. Just give me a second. Yeah, so water we already know, and Rabbani Bhai clearly mentioned that that with adaptation, water will be one of the top priority. So providing safe water is extremely important, and climate change is kind of overarching issue. So we have already water supply, sanitation, hygiene problem, and climate change in addition. But when you design a project with climate friendly WaSH or climate resilient WaSH, the main challenge I see, and which we need to do research, is number one, attribution. How do you attribute? So this is a climatic problem. Number two, you kind of find out the additionality. For example, with climate change, this is the impact, and without climate change, this is the impact. So you find out some sort of gaps, and that gaps is you can look for climate finance mechanism, because climate finance people would say, so water problem is your development problem, we don't want to finance it. So this is the task of a researcher, I believe, to find out these gaps and attribute it. Then the next point I would like to mention is about some indicators. So water quality or access to water is extremely important indicator. And when I started researching in coastal areas, and I thought these are the most important, but through my ethnographic study, I found there are so many other factors is extremely important in WaSH sector. For example, behavior, like behavioral change is extremely important, like the way people behave, the way people perceive about water quality, because certain people, clear water, the color of the water or the taste of the water is only important thing. But think about arsenic, where it's not, you cannot see it, you cannot taste it, but it's poisonous. So this taste indicator, the color indicator doesn't work. In contrary, when you look at iron, it's extremely bad looking in the water, but it's not as poisonous as other heavy metals. So we have some sort of that we need crystal clear water, and that's good water. And this perception, and then other social indicators extremely important. For example, the composition of a family, because I saw certain family does not have a man to go and fetch water. Some families are extremely religious and they can't go to school to fetch water, and so on and so forth. There's so many other tiny little indicators you will see when you go in detail. But when you see from bird's eye view, you will see only accessibility and quality. But this entire water security is way more than these two indicators. This is my fourth point. And the last point I would like to say, the research is extremely important, because it gives you deeper understanding to design properly. And it's kind of iterative process. Like when you design, then you can go back and learn from the community, learn from the field, and come back and improve your design. And I love this cycle where a It's not that you design something and you go and at the end of the project, you come back and you do kind of evaluation and say, okay, this was wrong, this is right. But the way I like it better, the researcher is integrated into a project, in a particular project of action where you do something and you learn something is working and something is not, and you bring this knowledge back, and you always have a chance to improve your implementation. And I think I'll stop here. And I learned quite a lot from the field, and this is so innovative, Hassan, bringing experience from the field, and we all should be doing it in big conferences. And I highly appreciate it. Thank you, Hassan.
Great, Mofis. Thank you very much, Chancellor. It's my lovely feeling too, hearing you, especially when you have raised a very important question that how safe our water is. That is very, very important, and definitely it's one of our something to in our mind to think about, that we have several data informations, and definitely end of the day some questions of the matter that okay, how safe our water is that. So I will bring to Rupadi here, with us today, and Rupadi, you heard about the mid-60s embankment features from our Shaukat Appa, Ghulam Rabbani Bhai have brought also the issues of the complexities of the financing. Mofis bring some lights on the rightly with some provoking questions that how save our water is end of the day and behavior. Rupadi, you are so connected to that UNFCCC process, the international negotiations, and you know that the first ever global stock take last year have brought a couple of areas, especially when you talk about this WaSH. They mentioned for all of my distinguished guests, the global stock take mentioned that significantly reducing climate-induced water scarcity and enhancing climate resilience to water-related hazards towards a climate-resilient water supply, climate-resilient sanitation, and access to safe and affordable portable water for all. Rupadi, my question is that exactly how far we are considering the gender perspective, considering this international arena, uncertainty of climate change or no climate change, right, of the issues. What significant actions can be taken by the countries like Bangladesh and the similar countries, other vulnerable countries in this regard especially?
Thanks a lot for this great question, and also for the panel. I learned a lot myself too. Thank you very much. I think from the IPCC report, as well as the global stocktake and the first ever health declaration that came up at COP28, it is very clear that the situation with regard to access to safe WaSH is still very challenging for a large number of people. The joint monitoring indicates that, but climate change is definitely a risk multiplier in this situation. And for particularly vulnerable communities in the regions of Bangladesh that we have been talking about, it requires very close attention to technology choice. So for these unserved communities, for people still left behind, we need the best of science in terms of understanding how climate change is modifying the context. It's a constantly evolving setting because of human actions, the embankments that have been done historically, but also actions with regard to the factors that are causing climate change, sea level rise, temperature. All of these are confounding variables for the quality, access, functionality of WaSH systems. And they require, as Sujun so nicely presented, the best of science to be made available to communities. And the science needs to be robust, the technology needs to be robust, it has to function under very challenging conditions. And I think the choices that we have made in terms of solar by default, having access to lighting, combining always water and access to sanitation, cultural shifts that are happening in the community in terms of attached toilets. I have personally gone and seen them. It makes such a huge difference to the lives of people. And these are measures that need good technology and good science to make systems accessible and functional under very, very challenging context. So I think I'm very proud that we bring the best of engineering knowledge to our projects, things that Sharnadi talked about, to have a railing for people to access the water point, to cover the water point so that they're able to use it during very heavy rainfall, to have backup systems in terms of solar powered filtration, but also UV system, and to have the capacity to monitor the functionality of these systems close to the ground, to have service providers who can repair the systems when they don't work right there in the Union Parishad, to have the Mothers' Parliament and the accountability of service providers to this group of women, which is right there at the community level. So all of these measures, good governance, empowerment, combining sound technology with common sense and knowledge of the context are very much needed to fulfill the commitments that we have from the SDGs, but also adaptation to climate change.
Rupati, thank you very much. You have very elaborately mentioned about what's the situation from that perspective, and the in this real ground, how the technologies has brought some changes. In the meantime, I have got 2 comments and questions here. Mr. Shimul Chandra from Rishibari community, he has mentioned that there are 2 other major challenges for reducing fresh water in these coastal areas of Bangladesh. Number 1, leasing out the water, leasing out leasing out the water body like khal, canals, big ponds by government department. Number 2, unplanned fish farming and use of saline water for farming. This is the yes, from your experience you have mentioned. However, you have also mentioned that does Helvetas has any initiative about advocacy those type of issues in the coastal areas? This is one of questions. Okay, and another question has come from with comments Mr. Nafis from ICART. Saline water intuition is a significant issue in southwestern coastal zone of Bangladesh. Upstream water unavailability. This is one of the very alarming for Bangladesh. It's a major concern in case, especially in the dry season. Does Helvetas has any role on that, especially in the diplomatic role with these government institutions? Definitely. It's a questions for our Helvetas group, or definitely you can bring it out. But one of the questions I got from Hoba, I want to bring these questions. If anyone, my distinguished panelists, how will the adverse impact of climate change affect the WaSH in developing countries? How will the adverse impact of climate change affect in the WaSH in these developing countries? One of the questions come here, but just one queries in that here. Rabbani Bhai or Rupa Di or anyone can answer this question, that how that means in future the uncertainty of the climate change, how the climate change will impact this current WaSH scenario.
Maybe I can start off with a couple of points. For Asia, water is going to be the most significant driver through which we feel the impacts of climate change. It's already happening, and it's been so for some decades now. If we are working in the field, we know that. And there are many reasons. One is the unpredictability of the rainfall. So as we know, many areas that have a dry, are already dry, it would rain less. Wet areas will get wetter, so we will have more rainfall and inability of the ground to absorb the rainfall. So flooding, the distribution of rainfall patterns has already changed. We know in many cases the whole annual rainfall is received in 2 days, and systems are just overwhelmed. Our drainage system are also in coastal areas, the ability of the soil to absorb water, recharge is affected. So we will have to deal with unpredictability. We will have to deal with risks of contamination. It means that we have to be very careful in how we manage our water resources. And in the water regime, we have a lot of disconnects. So groundwater is managed by one entity, WaSH supplies is managed by one part of the government, whereas irrigation is managed by another. Wastewater treatment is often highly neglected, and that just compounds problems for everybody, particularly downstream communities. Groundwater is regulated by a third entity, and of course, one of the key adaptation mechanisms is conjunctive use. So when you are having rainwater, to manage that well, to ensure recharge, to handle that carefully, not contaminate. and in dry seasons to manage the groundwater very responsibly. But we do not understand groundwater regimes very well. There is over extraction of groundwater in northern parts of Bangladesh as well. Privatization of this very valuable resource. And really, in many parts of the world, we are mining groundwater, which has been conserved over centuries. So I think water is going to be one of we have been talking about water wars for some time, and I've been very careful to use terminology like that. But we do see many, many conflicts all across the world around water, from local to international level. So it's also going to be, it is a risk multiplier in terms of also relationship within communities. The positive side of that is that we are all in the same crisis, and water can be a huge connector. So if you're able to set up good management practices, even if there is deep conflict, historic conflict, etc., water can be a connector because the benefits can be shared. So these are the opportunities that we have to work with communities, and also bring good science to local level problem solving. So combining good science with local knowledge, local management capacity, responsibility, and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupadi. Definitely, I'll come again. One more couple of minutes to the Shokatapa and Ghulam Rabbani Bhai, if possible, to Mofis also. But our distinguished guest here, Rishi Bari community, Shimul Bhai and Nafis from ICAR. So definitely, you have rightly mentioned these points, and I'm just taking some part on the Helvetas part because I'm also a domain coordinator in Helvetas. Definitely, we have a advocacy plan with our local partners who are working in this coastal belt. So we have this type of, because it's a right-based issues. This is the water security right-based perspective, justice angle. So definitely we have an work in this with these local partners in this coastal belt. And on the other hand, when you talk about the Nafis Bhai mentioned that about the upstream water from these neighboring countries, definitely it's it's very important to work all together. That is a network. For example, Helvetas is a part of now Climate Action Network, one of the very leading networks in this world, network Bangladesh. Our Helvetas here is a part there, as well as Climate Justice Alliances. They are also part there. So when we this type of work, we all together to make a right momentum for the justice for the water rights angle. And definitely, you know that in the 22nd March this year, that is a World Water Day, and the theme is that water for peace. So that is very, very important for us. But very quickly, I want to go to Rabbani Bhai. Rabbani Bhai, would you bring some lights that how the community-based organization can be integrated to this type of climate resilient WaSH activities? Very quick.
Yeah, I'll try to be very brief. Again, thank you so much, Hassan. Let me just use again, a few words and then elaborate them so that you can actually, our audience can understand. The first of all, CBOs are very strong, stakeholder, at the local level, and we are trying to promote this locally led adaptation approach. So the risk action plan or the adaptation plan or any kind of plan that helps the communities, these are the very strong group. So what I believe, to contribute in the WaSH resilient planning, the CBOs need to come together. So you form a network, which comes under formation. My word is formation. So formation of a network of CBOs, and then they will raise the voice of the communities to the local government process to mainstream and include the WaSH aspects in their local planning. As you all understand, we have a very small country, but you still can divide as different type of vulnerability in different ecosystems. So since the context are different, so it's better to have this formation of network, and then, formally and informally participate with the discussion process. My second word is participation. So without participation, you cannot really contribute in the resilience planning. So this is something extremely important. And my last word is, is a community evaluation. When we talk about this monitoring and evaluation, we feel like, it has to be done by the development partners, it has to be done by the, NGO network. No, we have to, modify, and we have to really add values to the entire process. Why not we have this CBO as a community monitoring and evaluation process? So my third word is evaluation, community level evaluation. And then they will look at it differently. I tell you, the evaluation of a development solution and evaluation of an adaptation solution is not same. Because development solution, you can evaluate, anytime, in your project period, maybe even after 6 months. But climate solution is completely different, because you are designing, integrating different type of climatic hazards, cyclonic events, sea level rise, salinity intrusion. So if those, at least one of those hazard doesn't affect your your adaptation solution, it's very difficult for you to understand and capture the knowledge and evaluate the solutions. So it takes time. Adaptation is slightly complicated, so you need to look at a different aspect. So community monitoring and evaluation, and share these experiences. Maybe you designed and implemented this solution 2 years, 3 years back, and then you followed it up. Your OM committee, your users community, users group, your beneficiaries, they will look at it and they will explain. Some of them will participate in the formal discussions and share the experiences, evaluate them, and modify the technology. So that's the way how you actually contextualize your WaSH system, your technologies, and this will actually lead you to help the climate resilient WaSH system in the context, in the locality. Thank you so much, Mohammed.
Thank you, Rabbani Bhai. I got a question, and definitely it's also related to this. Shaukat also mentioned here, it was told that World War III will be a war of water, that means fresh water. Shaukat, from your experience, very brief, that what exactly we can do for the mainstreaming climate resilient WaSH in this, our National Adaptation Plan activities. So what takeaway, what we can do actually?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. No, I'm still hopeful, but definitely the path is challenging what we are all discussing, because we know it is complicated with many different issues, including climate change. But there still, first of all, we will see that our national government itself is very interested towards addressing the issues of water and sanitation WaSH. And if you look at some of the plans, first of all, I will say the Delta Development Plan, Bangladesh Delta Development Plan, then the government's climate change, what is the plan? Climate change strategies and action plan 2009. There the government is also talking about WaSH programming. We know now we have Vision 2041 Mujib Prosperity Plan. There the government is talking about very dedication and huge area covered with climate change adaptation. Of course, water and sanitation is there. And on the top of that, we know the government's Department of Public Health and Engineering, this is also working, and right now they're also working and influencing different development partners like the World Bank, ISDB, ADB. Everyone is putting huge amounts of money with DPAC for citywide inclusive sanitation, even though it is said so is citywide, but they are also beyond city. So these are the positive sides for national government. If national government doesn't want, then working towards that issue is very difficult. So I see this is a positive, but of course we all understand that there are several disconnects and gaps in these policies. It's already been identified in many areas. As we all are working in the sector, we also realized. So we have to take forward those gaps and arrange consultation with the government that how we can eliminate and address those gaps. But at the same time, it is not only the gap in targeting, gap in instrumentalization or showing a process how to operationalize. There's serious gap in financing. So what would be the financing mechanism for those that we need to identify? And at the same time, we know that development community, our communities, our CSOs have huge appetite for working in this area for climate resilient WaSH, as well as climate resilience and adaptation activities in the development sector and in our society that is much needed. But in order to do that, definitely it's already been discussed. All the panelists talk very well and articulated and very specific ways. So when we are developing once again our program, definitely it has to be inclusive, no doubt about it. We should definitely focus more on sustainable and solar energy came, but I will add one more bit. It has to be sustainable business model. Otherwise, say for instance, the pumps and filters or other technologies the communities are talking about, if this is not viable and financially sustainable, this will not move forward. But at the same time, I would advocate to link water and sanitation with the fecal sludge management, otherwise the safe water, the quality, where the fecal sludges are traveling to. So that and sustainability, inclusivity, we have to ensure all this, and then implementation phase, already been mentioned here, definitely we have to implement. But at the same time, we have to check points, we have to go back, understand and listen. So this is with the community level, but we all understand, and the questions are coming, that we cannot really address our problems just working as a project-wise, working in a discrete system. We have to think about, not only think about, connect with the overall ecosystem, the geomorphology of this country, and that's where these transboundary rivers are coming. And this is very important. Otherwise, if our flow collapse, what will happen to us? That should be the key question now. And for this, of course, Helvetas, but Helvetas, we know, these are the big debates, these are the big negotiations, very high power, impactful negotiations, and we need allies. We need to put our hands together and work together. For Southwest Bangladesh, and not only Southwest Bangladesh, for Bangladesh, reduction of upstream flow has becoming a serious concern. So if we really think and care about the people, this is the time we should talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shokatapa. You have brought several issues and very effective way, no doubt. And definitely, I'm running off my time, and I know that ICAD will call me. I have just first 10 minutes more, but definitely, I want to take a one minute from Rupadi, just to just take away where we can go for. Rupadi, just 1 minute for a takeaway.
Yeah, there are so many takeaways, but the key ones for me are the golden indicator. I think I hold that close. Thank you very much, Rabanida, for sharing that. I think WaSH is climate resilient. WaSH is a golden indicator, and we should all work towards that, because the benefits to the most vulnerable sections of our population are immediate and direct in so many ways. Good health is the ultimate basis for adaptive capacity. What I also retain is the combination of great science and community participation, and really not to monitoring and evaluation in an extractive manner, but to empower people to act on the data. While working in a local area, very powerfully brought out by Shaukat Ben is the interlinkages, not to get too focused on the local, but to also look up and see how the context is evolving geomorphologically, but also from a climate perspective. And I think if we are able to work in these interconnected ways, working with communities, working with institutions, also working with science, then we can truly contribute to a climate resilient development. So thank you all.
Rupati, thank you very much for this takeaway. But prior to finishing this one, our last intervention will be a group photo. We will take this photo, but before that, I'm just going to wrap up today's sessions. Thank you very much, all of your very, very nice articulations, presentation from Shanjanda. The real activities and the ground experience have been provided from the Shobhudi and the Ranidi from the Morelgons. They are taking time 270 kilometers from here now. Our Mofiz Bhai, Shokotapa, Rabbani Bhai, and Rupati, thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of my distinguished guests. Please take my sincere apology. I didn't take many questions. I was not able to take questions, but definitely I want to give a commitment that we will answer all the questions that has been come in our chat box. My teams will take care all the answering these questions too, definitely. And I have also shared the HOBA link where the 24/7 you can watch the Helvetas session as well as the others very, very nice sessions. You can just watch the locally led adaptation, the dream of our climate guru, Dr. Salimul Haq. And thank you very much, my ICAT teams, all the team members here, Helvetas Bangladesh, and thank you very much from my teams, all the team members here, and our contributor Ben, and all together. I'm just keeping up here, but definitely it's fighting for the justice, water justice, and the human rights all together. Thank you very much. Now I would request to open your camera and take a picture for our documentation to know it's a memory for this Gobeshona conference. My team from ICAT, please take. And lovely, our colleague from our partner organizations, DORP, they are also co-organized today. Thank you very much, DORP, all my friends there. Amir Bhai, thank you. Khoshubai was there. Thanks a lot. Please, can you, ICAT, have you taken this picture?
Yes, okay, done. Thank you, Hasan. Okay, done.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day altogether. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.